Okay. We're recording. Okay, do we have anybody online? What's the participants there?
This one has the 35 stock.
Move Chris to the panelist. Okay. Boy, he's a patient man to wait for.
I mean,
Chris, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you. Are you able to hear me? Okay. I think you are muted or something. I can't hear you.
Pixel buds. I don't think so.
Yeah, I think I hear you now.
Okay.
We kind of
Thanks, Greg.
started late. We didn't have a Zoom password. All right. So we're going to call the meeting to order. We'll start with introductions around the table. Do you want to start, Alicia? We'll come around this way.
good afternoon, everybody. I am Alicia Ryan. I'm the Executive Director of the Helena Business Improvement District.
Hi, everyone. Andrea Ovitz, Executive Director of the Tourism Business Improvement District.
I am Callie Asham. I'm President and CEO of the Helena Area Chamber of Commerce.
Lindsay Camersell. I am a business owner at Dowling Architects.
I'm Joan Taylor, and I'm the residential permit holder representative.
David Kanapke, Transportation Systems Director. Chris Cooey, Transportation Systems Deputy Director.
Seth Brandenberger, the ID rep.
Yeah, this is Christopher Facundo, public member on the board.
Okay, and we have a quorum. Do we have any announcements or housekeeping items? We're starting a little bit late. 15 minutes late. All right, I don't think we have the minutes from our March meeting yet. There were some issues with the video, and so Sandy hadn't put those together yet. I had sat down with Sandy and we've gone through the committee priorities from our work session in March, and we can discuss those down under annual report recommendations later in the agenda. Okay, is there any public comment on matters not on the agenda? Is there any public comment in general? Okay, is there any committee comment? All right, I have a few pictures that I took today. You have those handy, let's bring them up. I just wanted to, I think when we talk about future meetings, I think at some point we ought to take a field trip. But I just wanted to show you some things. Like, for instance, this is in lot 3. This is the Passport parking. But if you look down the street, there's another kiosk, and if you look the other way, there's another kiosk. So we've got 3 kiosks in a row right here at lot 3, and I think if we just had better signage around around the kiosk, we could at least eliminate one of those. Go to the next one. All right, so this is what Northwestern Energy is putting new power lines down lot 3, and so one issue is who's going to re-landscape this after it's done and repair the damage. Let's just go to the next one. This is the railing that was damaged by a truck and broke the curb stop, which I assume is the contractor. Go to the next
Not
one.
able to see that photo, I'm sorry.
Hang on a second. I think you just leave the entire screen, it'll show them as you go.
Okay.
Do you see that, Chris?
Yes, I see
Okay.
that.
So that's the kiosk that got hit by the garbage truck. Coincidentally, while Alicia and I were standing in the PID office.
It's good timing.
Don't do it.
Yeah,
We hadn't heard about this yet.
Yeah. Well, with 2 witnesses. Okay, next one. This is just showing this lot 6. You can see the landscaping is becoming a fire hazard, and you know, the log, there's no pin downs there. They're kind of logs, and it's just, gosh, the landscaping is really going. And this is not unique to just lot 6. This is all over town.
Yeah, I don't know what happened with the junipers over the last few years.
Yeah,
but
they got hit.
all got.
Yeah, and this is just this sand has been sitting here for 2 seasons now.
Hmm.
And this is behind the Union Market building. This is the spalling on that sidewalk. And also the cross slope, it doesn't need ADA, but it's just the kind of the conditions of things. Let's go to the next one.
It was all. They had it.
Oh, okay. Well, I had some really horrific ones at the parking garage where the steps are rotted. The pan deck underneath the steps is completely rotted out, and the steps are spalled by the but I do think it would be useful to go on kind of a field trip to see where we're at in the condition of things at some point. So anyway, that's my comment on
Well, isn't the interior furniture required for the next exteriors?
I didn't catch that, Chris.
Sorry.
Stuff.
Oh, no, nothing. I don't have anything to say.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. So let's get a parking map update. Callie.
Yeah,
Well,
we're,
yeah, go
go ahead.
We sent it over to the chamber, sent them those ones we did on our own. They're gonna assist us with getting the maps updated. The permit maps, probably we'll handle the printing on those we're gonna do pretty much a small quantity, gonna rely mostly on the digital because, well, we have few boxes of the old maps still sitting there that, you know, I think the chamber and the BID and other folks probably use the maps more than the actual parking office does, which is, you know, kind of unfortunate, but we'll have both maps up on the site, readily available or ready, you know, right there in your face so that people can. And then we're going to try to work it with the chambers and TVID, BID's website so that the link is at least there for people that are out looking for parking. We'll be linking that public and free parking map, and the permit will be mostly for, you know, internal use, and it'll still be out on the website, but it won't be as prominent as the public parking for the tourists and everyone.
Okay. Yeah, I think probably the new museum could do some parking maps and.
We're hoping, I mean, we would rather people come and get the maps from either visitor centers. so
Once
that
they hit downtown, yeah.
We can get them where they want to go, so that they have the right experience.
Okay. Or what are we looking at on the timeline? Or is there any updates to the map, or are we just printing it out, or what?
We haven't seen anything that needs to be updated. They look good.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'll pull the trigger this week, probably. I'll
Okay.
send the files over this weekend and we'll get it going. And we're gonna get the tear off kind. So we can just have some.
Oh, nice. So you could give them to, anybody, hotels or.
Yeah, I thought they looked great. You guys have the icon to be the
Yeah, it has-
matching, the capital.
Yeah,
So.
There was a little tough.
that was the best part of it. Is
Second
the capitals
career.
on there. No, it's great. You guys did a great job. So we'll get those. We're trying to decide which version we're gonna print.
And I think before you send those off to the printers, send us back, just so
Yeah.
we'll double check, because we did do some swapping around of the smart meter spacing once 2 hour. And there have been a couple minor changes here and there, so we just want to make sure.
Okay. Yeah, we haven't made any changes yet. The only thing we would have to add is that it, like at the bottom, it has to say that it's printed with Fed tax money. So I'll have to add that on.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So we're gonna move the residential letters update to the May 18th meeting.
Yeah, due to the April 1st meeting not having a quorum with the commission, everything kind of got pushed back. And since that wasn't as pressing as maybe the city budget,
Oh, come on now. Yes, it is.
we moved it to the
Okay.
May meeting. So,
They're important to ask, Joe.
Oh, yes, I know.
Okay, parking metrics update.
Tabs on the Zoom, so, yeah.
you see that, Christopher?
I don't think.
I zoom in there, well.
Just on that tab there. B1. Be able to see it. Okay. So nobody tell Julia, but I got you guys some nice fancy graphics this last metric updates. So.
Dramatic, yeah.
Yeah, so the caveat to these statistics is that the permit piece there on the revenue, the 132,000, that does not include any of the big commercial accounts like State Fund and Department of Revenue and Corrections and all those places that buy our group type permits. For whatever reason, I don't know why their system doesn't pull those in, but so this is really just, this is the hourly parking tickets and then single, individual type permit data in here.
So the total revenue does not include.
Doesn't include the,
Okay.
State Fund is $370,000 alone, so that, those types of numbers are not in their report that they have on there. But this gives you, I think, a good look at like the individual ecosystem itself without all those big players. So, as we scroll down just a little bit, so this is all fiscal year to date, so July 1st, 25 to now. So it breaks out everything for you in the different buckets, total revenue, then the mobile payments. I've said this before, but Lindsay being new, so the blue part is people using the app to pay for their hourly, and the little pink part is people using a credit card at the kiosk machine.
Wow.
Wow.
So that represents the entire digital world of payments for hourly parking. So I mean, pretty much everybody uses the app if they're going to use digital currency to pay.
Sorry, Chris, but just to show one thing, all these numbers are up.
Yeah.
There's no decrease in use of parking. So people are still coming downtown, people are still, increasing. So it's one of those things that, from our perspective, parking isn't the impact that some people are suggesting. And, I don't know where that metric lies, but
Then go back up just a little bit there. So on tickets, breaks it out for how those are getting paid right now. You can see 2/3 of our tickets are now being paid online. And then even the rest of them, if they come in to pay, they're using a card. And then our permits, even again, almost 2/3, well over half are being managed online, paid for online now. And revenue by time, so that just gives you the breakdown down a little bit. Gives you the breakdown month to month. You can see it's pretty consistent every month. I mean, July is big because that's the beginning of our fiscal year, and that's when all our permit cycles start. So we get a lot of our renewals happen in June and July timeframe. And again, even with the hourly parking, you can see it's pretty consistent month to month. With November being down, I would assume around the holidays and around that whole Thanksgiving, Black Friday era. Because it's the same with tickets. If you scroll down a little bit more, so with citation revenue, you can see that total in November is one of the smallest ones out of every month. So November just tends to be a slow month for parking and handing out tickets.
it's partially because we don't charge for the days
For the holidays.
Holidays, yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So, then permit revenue by time, again, July being the biggest month, that's the beginning of our cycle, but then you can see it's fairly steady from month to month in there. Now, this next section is pretty much all relevant to what Passport calls parking. This is the pay to park piece. So, this one got messed up. So this is only 7 days worth of information. I didn't realize it restarted itself every time I switched to the new page. So that's not very helpful, but I can tell you, I remember some of these numbers. So, total session count, was pretty high. I mean, it's, I think in the 100,000s range.
But that's
But
for the last 7 days. So
This is just the
1,800.
last 7 days this year. Yeah, 1,800 sessions in the last 7 days. But you can see our averages are pretty steady. I mean, every time we do this activity, just over $2 and just over 2 hours is the average session, and it always kind of has been since we've had these metrics.
Which is interesting because, there's 208 2-hour parking spaces downtown for free.
507.
507 2 hours.
Something, yeah.
2 hour, 1 hour free parking.
Yeah. So the crazy thing is, most of these people, I mean, if you're paying for 2-hour parking, you're doing it. If you're paying, you're usually doing it out of convenience rather than just looking around and walking for a half a block. Because there's
Montana
parking.
way, I mean.
Yeah,
they
there
wanna
really
park
is.
in the
I mean,
building.
if your average person is down there for 2 hours to go shopping, it's
That's
pretty
good.
easy to find a 2-hour spot.
Oh, this next section below it is kind of irrelevant since we only have one zone. And these parts, again, not quite as helpful because it's only 7 days. But you can see, hour by hour, the busiest times that we have. And not only that, but you can, it's funny, the revenue stays pretty much the same for most hours of the day until you get to the last hour, where the number of sessions is still relatively, I mean, it's not high, but it's at least half of the rest of the day. but the amount of money that it brings in. So people are going from that 4 to 5 hour. There's still a decent number of people going at the 4 to 5 hour to start a session, but then, they're only putting in 50 cents instead of the $2. They're not, because it ends at 5. And then, so this one is ticket information. Again, it's only 7 days, but this one I actually do remember the number. So at the very top one, when we went at it, total citation revenue was 96,000 for the fiscal year so far. It was about 9,700 tickets written in that time frame, and the average citation issued was $14 for the fiscal year. So I did the math. So the total dollar amount of tickets written is 136,000, and the total amount we've collected is 96,000. So it's about a 70% rate, which is pretty high considering we used to be at best 50% on collecting citations.
And as we're getting closer to the fiscal end of the year, those annual permits are going to start coming up. We just had, one customer call and ask, why they weren't able to purchase additional permits. And it was because they had a whole list of employees that had anywhere from 1 to 5 tickets outstanding. So the feature that doesn't allow to purchase permits if you have outstanding tickets is
It's
definitely.
working.
It's definitely.
That's pretty good. That's cool.
What'd they say? They'll get right on it?
They're gonna go to the employees.
Yeah. And at first they asked us if we could give them a copy of the policy agreement that says that they're responsible for their employees' tickets. Like, well, you're not. Whoever has the plate and you own the permit, it's their responsibility to pay the ticket. But if you buy the permit for them, they still can't use it unless the ticket gets paid by somebody. So it's your own internal policy how you decide to make your employees pay their tickets. It's just that they won't be able to use the permit you're buying for them until those tickets are paid. So then moving down, so ticket revenue by time. And again, you can see most of these get paid online in the majority of every day. And then same thing, tickets issued. You can see we get a lot of them that are paid. I'm going to talk to them and ask them if they can include that metric in some of this stuff of the, how many days before a ticket gets paid from the date it was issued. I've run it before manually in some of their reports, and it's a pretty decent percentage. I think it was like 20 to 25% of the tickets that are written are paid within 2 days. And that folds back to that discount
Extra
that we're
fee,
offering
yeah.
in the rate structure. So in the rate structure, we're going to offer if you pay your ticket within 2 days, instead of it being 25, it would only be 15. So or 10, I think, something like that.
15.
And then again, that one's kind of pointless. And then days of the week. So being the last 7 days, I'm not sure what happened on Thursday. But apparently we didn't write very many tickets on Thursday. Or sorry, paid. Sorry, that one's paid. So apparently nobody wanted to pay tickets on Thursday. And overwrite them, yeah. So I don't
They
know.
were on spring break,
Maybe.
maybe,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's.
Last week was.
or shopping for Easter.
Yeah, you can, so when it was the full fiscal year, it's pretty consistent. I mean, for sure, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday were the higher days for tickets getting paid. Then as the weekend approached, it went down a little bit, and then on Saturday and Sunday, obviously it's 100% online payments, and so they were. And then by hour of the day. So clearly, in this last week, that 2 p.m. hour is when everybody wanted to come in and pay tickets. But again, still, no matter what time of the day it is, most of the transactions are happening online. Nice.
Yeah, our front desk, we see like 10 to 15 people come to our front desk for parking questions a day. So dramatic decrease of what we used to see now that we have that online portal.
Yeah, we don't see as many folks either.
I
Maybe
think
one or
our-
two a week.
I think our typical daily deposit for the in-office transactions is like $20.
Yeah, if you think about the traffic we were seeing before.
So the percentage of people paying tickets, what was it again before we had,
It
web
was,
access?
So that's
Now.
50%.
on a good day, it was 50% we were collecting on tickets.
So 20% or something up.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
And this matches almost exactly with what Placer has too. Like it has the average day of 147 for minutes.
Yeah.
And then there was a permit tab also. So as we get down in this one again, it's only 7 days of this past week. We only had 13. But it was, I think 600 permits were issued in the fiscal year. Then there was 800 citations issued to parkers without permits. I'm not really sure how that metric works exactly, but I would imagine that it's a ticket written to somebody in a permit only area that did not have a permit. My best guess. The map thing, there's a couple of those throughout some of these, and it would really be nice if it kind of worked. It doesn't work based on the GPS of where they're at writing the tickets. It works based on the zone number that they write the ticket for. And I mean, a really high majority of our tickets that get written are the meter kiosk violation ones where you just didn't pay. Those are the $10 tickets. So since we only have the one zone that's relevant to that, it doesn't really provide anything as far as the map goes. So
That's our one, pitfall for doing one zone, one rate is we can't track those metrics as easily with the hot zone.
and then again down here, so this is comparing current to previous, so the last week versus the week before. And so you can see our web presence, right, way up more this week than even last week. Then in the back office, a little bit more this week, so just more business in general. And by permit types, and by renewals versus new permits. So we don't have a whole lot of new permits. So more new permits this week than last week. And or what is that? New permits and renewals. Yeah. No renewals this week. But I don't like this graph. It's kind of confusing.
But this is last 7 days too, so it doesn't.
Right.
Any questions on that?
That just comes off the software. So,
That's really sweet.
Yeah.
Helpful.
all right.
So did you say you're ahead of last year on our budget with all of this, or?
We're ahead of budget, we're ahead of set number of sessions.
Yeah.
Pretty much ahead across the board. From year to date.
Yeah, I think permits for sure are gonna come in well over last year's revenue. The hourly parking is gonna be pretty close to last year's and to the budget. Just kind of depends on how the first half of summer, spring goes. With visitors, which since it's early, we should get more action downtown than we typically do in this part of the year.
So, permit revenue, how much is it gonna go up, do you think?
So I think when we did that last time, So right now we budget permits, I think it's 1.4. And we had it budgeted at somewhere just over 1.5 rate increases for permits. Because a lot of them are pretty minimal, right? It's $5 a month, so it's $60 per permit a year. And I think we have somewhere 12 to 1,500 permits. So oh, yeah, I didn't get the ordinances open. Yeah, it's about 100,000 a year for that, for the rate increases just on permits is what we anticipated.
Okay.
So I'm not sure where I can ask this, but I was wondering, since they didn't have a quorum, is it okay if I ask it then?
Yeah, go ahead.
Since there wasn't a quorum at the work session, is that right? Where you were gonna bring up, where were you gonna bring up the rate increases?
No,
Did you
so
take it to the,
we're taking it to the commission next Wednesday.
and you took it to the city manager's meeting or?
We took it to the manager's meeting. She's in support of the rate structure.
Okay, good.
So
And so,
she signed off on all of our, the whole thing, the $1.50, the $5 off the fuel, yeah. She signed off on the whole idea, and that's what we'll be presenting.
okay,
And then if they ask, I have the information on, you know, if we only want to give you the $1.50, but not the $5 per permit, what does that do to your budget? That kind of stuff. I have all that addressed.
so is that important where? you
Yes.
should come?
Yeah, I'm gonna go to that meeting. Anybody else can sure go to that meeting too.
When is it again?
It's Wednesday.
Wednesday, 4 o'clock. We'll probably be on,
It's our-
oh yeah, sorry, 5 o'clock. Didn't move those, yeah. Starts at 5. We'll probably be on somewhere around 6:30 if we're lucky.
You guys are last.
Yeah.
Oh,
Sure
okay,
are.
okay,
I
I'll
might
be
go
out of town
sleep.
that day. but I
Save the
should be
best for
back by
last.
then.
You bet they are.
So, yeah, the BID is supports the rate increase also, as does the advisory committee, so.
Good. So 15th.
It's the
Right.
15th, not the 13th, yeah.
Okay.
Okay. I guess next up is election of officers.
Should we wait till Sandy gets back?
We can sure do that. Wait till the next meeting.
Just keep them at- I mean, is that okay with you?
Is that
Absolutely.
okay with everybody? Okay.
You're not itching to run over there?
Well, you know, you just you gotta get everybody here.
I get my feet wet a little bit here.
Okay,
Okay.
everybody ready? Get the toothpicks out so you can hold your eyelids open.
All right.
We're talking city code now. So to give everybody, just a quick, history. We went through the city code. It's been some time now. This time we have the momentum to get it pushed through so we can get the changes made, because some of what's in city code, is no more. We don't do those. It hasn't been done for numerous years. So what we did, we went through and we noticed there was a lot of stuff in city code that if we wanted to do just operationally change, we would have to go through the whole ordinance revision process, which is an admin meeting, which is then a first meeting, and then a second meeting, taking, a number of months, and then, it has to sit for a minimum of 30 days before it can go enacted. So what we want to do is take some of those things out now that since we had the parking advisory committee, so that we could pick those out of we're going to put them in a standard operating policy so that we can go systematically through that and make changes with the committee. And then that way the committee can make those changes. It's operational. It's not policy. So if there's some big issues, we can take them to the commission for, concurrence, but they're operational. We can make those changes. And then that way too, if we see that something's not working, we can make those adjustments a little bit more on the fly instead of, and again, another monthly process to make that change in ordinance. So, you're gonna see a lot of strikeouts. A lot of that strikeouts is going into our standard operating policy. Some of them are not, because as you'll see at the beginning here, talks a lot about highways. They copy and pasted what was in state code, so it dealt with highway patrol and highways and safety distances. So, like on this one, in every event, an unobstructed width of the highway. We took all that out and we just said no event shall there be less than 10 feet of width of the travel lane available at all times for free movement of vehicular traffic. We changed that just so it would, resonate more with the city. Again, 500 feet, all highway references. Here, this is, we're going to, so the city attorney, HPD, and parking are collaborating on what we used to call, or what we're still calling abandoned vehicles, but what we're proposing to call is overparked vehicles. So it'd still be 72 hours. But in the past, there was this outline that there had to be a 5-day notice, and then they would come back and then they would check. And the 72 hours turned into almost 15 days in some instances. So now with the 72 hours, if we get the complaint that there is an overparked vehicle, parking will go up, scan it with the vehicle with the LPR, come back 3 days later, and the LPR will be like, oh, it has been here for 7 days now, or 72 hours. So in that, when we scan those with the LPR, it takes a picture of them. So if it has moved significantly in those pictures, then we'll just call it as moved. If it's in the same general location, we'll issue a overparked parking ticket. And then that service request will be closed. We issued the ticket. If it gets submitted again, we'll go start the process. So what this does is it gives the person a little bit of time to understand what the 72 hours are with the first ticket. They can appeal that ticket, and but if they continue to park or continue to overpark, they can continue to get tickets. And then our other fees, our boot fees, will then kick in. So any more than $75 worth of tickets, now that vehicle becomes bootable. And then we would boot that vehicle. They would have to come pay their tickets to get it unbooted, or if they chose not to, then the vehicle get towed. Yes.
Question on that. So backtrack, when you're notified, you need to do that first scan to start the 72 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Does the customer get any sort of warning or notice that that's happening, or do they kind of basically have a 6-day buffer?
We haven't got to that, but I would assume that we were just going to put some type of courtesy notice.
Sure.
That way there's no question.
Yeah.
And then if we come back after 72 hours, if they're still there, we get this all the time when we're towing trailers in the wintertime. Well,
Yeah.
I didn't see it. Well, it's the bright yellow door hanger that,
Yeah.
We can only do so much notice. So we'll provide those courtesies, and
We can probably treat it the same way we do just booting vehicles now. When you
Yeah.
go to boot, you get essentially a warning ticket that says the
Right.
vehicle is bootable. This is your notice that next time we see it, we're gonna put a boot on it if you haven't paid your tickets.
Yeah. Okay.
Same concept we can apply to this. When they go out there and scan it the first time, we could issue a warning ticket that says, you've been here too long. We'll be back in 72 hours. And if it's in the same spot, you're going to get a ticket.
I really like that. It feels like then they're kind of getting a little bit of a chance.
Yeah, to move.
Yeah.
So this is citywide.
mm-hmm.
And what if it's like a trailer park like a RV or something that's here visiting someone. Is that not an abandoned vehicle? Or is it?
It doesn't matter, it's overparked. So
Somebody has to
even right now, if they got a call on it, PD would go out, bracket the tires, do all their paperwork for basically quote unquote an abandoned vehicle. That's part of the reason why we're changing this, because none of us were really excited about the abandoned vehicle, because abandoned to me means like up on cinder blocks, no registration. These are just overparked. That's why we went with overparked.
Yeah.
Maybe could have come up with something better, but that's what we landed on. But they would still get the same courtesy notice. And it's a policy throughout the city, 365 days a year, that any vehicle has to move within the 72 hours.
And do you usually have someone reporting it, or do you?
So we only do them by complaint. We don't drive around looking for them.
Okay.
Yeah, so generally it's if somebody,
Yeah,
the neighbor complains because
they're in their
Yeah.
working place.
yeah.
And usually by the time the neighbor complains or somebody complains, it's been there for a while.
Yeah.
They're probably not gonna move.
Yeah. And they're not gonna see your nice notice,
Yeah.
but it's nice to do it.
You try.
Well, yeah. So this is just, so here's some, archaic parking meters. Well, we don't have parking meters at every place, so we just changed all references to similar to this to in patrol of parking enforcement zone. So we basically called the entire city a parking and enforcement zone. So any place where the city or this committee, advises the commission to create something other than whatever we have there now. We have some latitude to go put up parking right now. But if we did like an entire block, or we went put kiosks around the Capitol to create some revenue, and maybe in the museum parking lot, we could put paid park in there.
Got some open park cars.
I'm joking. But
I'll cross that bridge later.
that's why we called it a parking and a parking enforcement zone, just because we didn't want to basically pigeonhole us into a specific area. These are standard out of MCA. These are in our city code. They're reflective of one another. And these are just the no parking areas. So within 15 feet either side of a fire hydrant. So you'll probably see our folks, we started last year. We're going around to all the fire hydrants and we're painting them red. And not just yellow like we used to. The curbs, yeah.
That's a way better idea.
Yeah.
Fire hydrant should be red too, but I can't get public works off of that.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that? The color?
The color of the curbs are gonna be red on either side of a fire hydrant or in a fire lane.
Oh, okay, thank you.
So here at any place where official signs prohibit stopping, we just got this reference away because we're basically re-up. Some of these were a little dated, so we updated them with what's currently designated loading zones, residential parking districts, designated permit parking only areas, private lots without a permit. These are the ones that we typically see that are in addition to those areas that are already called out in MCA. So all those delivery trucks that double park downtown, they're open to a citation. We haven't done it in the past, but what we would like to do is work with the BID and businesses to try to schedule those times on off times and not in the middle of, peak hour times. They're kind of are now. They're closer to 9-ish, but you still have quite a few vehicles coming and going. And if we could get them before the rush hour or, sometime a little bit more outside those peak hours. Just curbside. This was just extraneous information. We didn't need that in there. We changed angle parking to head in or back in because we have both now in the city. here's some things that were in code that have been there for a while and really didn't apply, and they don't apply anymore. So parking trucks in officially zoned residential district, 3/4 ton trucks in residential 1 or 2s. Well, you could have a 3/4 ton truck because you pull your camping trailer, and so that didn't make sense to us to leave that in there. There was an intent, I know, back when we had some discussion years and years ago about, 1 ton or 1.5 ton. And the problem is people's work trucks are,
Right.
550s and stuff like that. So we wanted to get that out of there. Really, I think some of this was more directed to keeping delivery trucks, keeping the big trucks out of residential areas.
Yeah.
And we can do that through other means by dictating that a residential area is a non-truck route versus having multiple areas in the code.
So is there how are you addressing the truck permits for delivery trucks? The loading zone permits. Is there any enforcement of that?
Yeah. So if you're in a official loading zone, the businesses buy the loading zone permit, or the delivery business. The delivery business buys theirs, and I can't remember how many we had. We have quite a few actually. So
They just aren't always in the loading zone.
yeah,
Mhm.
and really,
How many do you have? I mean, do you think you've covered pretty much
as far as parking spaces or permits,
permits for loading zones?
I don't think we've captured 100%,
No.
but I think
Like food delivery trucks, mail.
Yeah, most of the, the Cisco's and the Culligans and all those type, the beer
The
truck
big ones
places.
have it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think like the uniform, the launder, have them. We don't require them from FedEx. So I think part of this discussion is to have with the BID and the businesses, because double parking is not the best. It isn't a safe practice, but a lot of these vehicles that are coming to deliver, I would not like to see them, because there's delivery trucks that deliver to a business that park in the ADA parking space. Some deliver parking. I would rather see them double parked than blocking, especially ADA parking. And if the city and PD and everybody could come together and say, double parking for a limited amount of time is okay, then we could take away those loading zones and turn them back either into an ADA parking space or additional parking downtown. So I think there's a discussion to have in the future on that. It's just gotta get through some of this other housekeeping first. Had an entire section of parking at schools, which just basically meant back then the director of parking and traffic could erect signs to limit or restrict parking around schools. We just lumped it all into one in no parking areas. And so these two sections were the same, and we felt that they were redundant, so we got rid of the school one. We added some verbiage here in the no parking areas, and that's what we're going with. Again, there was a lot of redundancy on, if you're parked there, you're going to do this, and the responsible party and all this. We got rid of that through discussions with the city attorney's office, that we didn't need that amount of redundancy. Parking time limits. We basically got rid of all the extraneous language, and basically said that I or my designee can establish time limits to restrict parking. We felt short and simple was easier and then it was clear, instead of having all the words.
And then that makes it an operational, and in some cases, a policy decision rather than a code change. So if we wanted to move, 1 hour to 2 hour, we wanted to have 4 hour free parking spots. we would have to go through code changes before to do that kind of stuff. Now we can just do them ourselves. So this section for disability parking was enhanced by our city attorney's office. As you can see, all the underline is new language. But in a nutshell, it basically says that they're paying the same as as the other parkers. But to park in, specifically signed ADA parking areas, you have to display a disability parking permit. Just clarifies that whole policy. And then it should be the duty of the police department. And so before, the people parking in the ADA parking spaces without a permit, because of the way the code read, police officers were the only ones that could ticket that. But they couldn't ticket the vehicle, they had to ticket the person. So you had to stand there and wait for the person to come out.
Wow.
So we got that changed so that not only PD, but our road code enforcement, which we're lumping in our parking control officers and roadway code enforcement officers all into one, so that they can issue those tickets as well, not just PD. PD doesn't need to be down writing parking tickets. They got other things to do. So this is part of our municipal infraction language that we're moving forward. So if you haven't been aware of this, there's been a lot of discussion of the city not having enough teeth to get people that are habitually, putting hoses across sidewalks or leaving their trash cans there. It started out as an ADA focused, when then we decided, well, if it's going to be that, why don't we just do it for all code enforcement? And so this is part of that language, that now you can be punished by a civil penalty of not less than 100 and no more than 250 for the first offense, 250 and 500 for the second offense and subsequent offenses. So it gives a little bit more it gives us a little bit more teeth to try to. We're still going to start with education. We're still going to have those interactions and explain to them, because what I've found over the years is there's a lot of people out there that don't realize that stretching the hose across the sidewalk is a barrier for people in wheelchairs, or it could be a trip hazard for somebody that has low vision. And most times, if you explain that to them, they understand and they, remember, and they continue to fix their. We're always going to have a percentage of the population that just doesn't get it or doesn't care, or whatever, and that's what these are focused at. Parking for camping. We let the city attorney's office just revise this as they saw fit. This parking for emergency snow routes, it's already discussed in another ordinance as shown here. Parking in Helena Parking District. We don't have Helena Parking District anymore. It's now just a parking enforcement zone. Again, we got rid of highway patrolmen. And this is where all our fees were in code. So the change of fee meant a code change. So we're getting rid of that, and we're putting it in as everybody else has, all in a schedule of fees that's still adopted by the commission, but in a lot less stringent manner as a code revision. Notice of violation and responsibility for violation. There's a lot of these. And then here, again, just making the language a little bit more general where there is parking enforcement. It's deemed as an enforcement zone. Changing the title of the director to the current department. We can establish pay to park in all parking zones. Or hereby, again, we can do the other signage for free parking, just giving us a little bit more flexibility on operations versus policy. And then placement of parking meters. Parking meter operation, I mean, this is how in-depth it went into in city code, and this is entirely operational, so we got rid of those. I mean, it went to, they're going to enforce it. So we still have some of that in here, but we got rid of a whole bunch of city code. So like this piece, the long-term discounts, that's in our standard operating procedures. We took this exact language, put it into our standard operating procedures, and that way the things that needed to be retained are in the SOPs. The things that needed to go, like highway patrolmen, are gone. You're not going to see those. Tampering with parking enforcement devices, again, the general term. Parking meter collections. Way back when in 1984, if you were collecting money, you had to be bonded for $2,000 to collect money. Here's just a penalty for anybody that defaces or injures or tampers with parking equipment. Again, notice of violation, responsibility. The attorney's office deemed that we don't need all that redundancy. Again, just another name change.
So if you damage a kiosk, you're charged less than $500, even though they're a couple thousand.
That would be a fine plus the thing.
Plus the damages. So rental of off-street parking stalls, monthly parking permits, multi-facility parking permits, all that's coming out and getting put into our SOPs. There's no reason for it to be in code. Location of parking permits. Here's again, another redundancy of long-term group discounts and long-term discount. This is one that people didn't really understand. But when Chris and I came on board, this is a piece of code that we referenced. Under no circumstances shall an individual partnership or corp be entitled to both discounts announced in this section. That was something that some.
So they had a discount in the past for 5 or more permits, you could get 5% off. And there was a discount that if you paid annually, you could get 5% off. They were never meant to be combined to give you 10% off.
No.
But they were being combined in the past. Yep. And so it's been stopped for the last 4 or 5 years, but.
Again, off-street parking revenue penalties, notice of violation, responsibilities of violation. Again, a lot of redundancy. Hotel guest zone permit. I talked with people, nobody remembered ever seeing one of these. I think this was something that was obviously, it was put into code back in 1984. Permit for loading or unloading by backing to the curb. Interesting choice of words. We have loading zone permits, and that's what's going to be in our policy. And most of our parking downtown is all parallel parking. We do have a few angled spots, but we didn't think that you needed to make the distinction. Here's the designation on. That's why we made that general language that we can designate those types of parking in the downtown that best serves the downtown and the citizenry. Restrictions, permissions to be used on street and commercials. This we felt was something that can stay in there. What probably not going to change over the years. It already got revised in 2013, so we left that piece in here. Permit needs to be displayed. Special request for an on-street commercial loading zone. Again, we left this in here just as
it's a little bit easier to point to, code than than a operation manual on some of these things that, bus and taxi cab zones. Again, this is a 1984.
No,
Um,
Uber, all of our taxi cab.
Yeah, taxi cab.
It's like the hotel guest
Oh my
zone.
God.
yeah.
Here's your favorite, Joan, the residential parking districts, which I think is probably going to be the next piece of parking code that we revisit, at least on clarification. So that we left in the code, knowing that we'll be probably returning to that sooner than rather than later. Courtesy parking tickets.
That's your favorite spot.
Anyways, convention parking permits. Again, it got revised in 2013, but nobody, recalls these. And now we can't do permits because we have merchant validation or we have license plates. We don't issue those permits. Private parking facilities. We'll go through and do an agreement if we have our rates in our fee schedule to do enforcement on private property. And if we do this, we'll go through our standard city agreement and we don't need it to be spelled out in code. Most of the private property owners are not. We used to have a lot of them, but that's because they all put the caveat in their agreements that parking gets the revenue of all the tickets. Well, maybe back in the day that covered the cost. Probably not, but back in the day, maybe that covered the cost. But we had one area that was a pretty significant amount of parking spaces that were being charged $40 a month for us to enforce those spaces. And the parking revenues didn't even come close to, so we changed the rates so that it more realistically showed that we have a vehicle or a person that has to walk down there. There's that time involved. And we discounted it pretty good, but it's still higher than what some of the private lot, like the Great Northern, they chose to go and do their own private parking versus having us enforce it. So
where else would that be? Like the hotel downtown or in that parking lot or
what's the
Doubletree.
the DoubleTree? Is that parking lot?
anybody with a private lot could ask us to enforce.
Oh, okay.
Part of the issue that we have now is we're pretty limited on time parking. Otherwise, they have to provide the license plates. And so it's another, thing that the license plate reader was great for making efficiencies on more of the public stuff. But on some of this private lot enforcement, it's not as robust just because you don't know who's coming and going. Airport parking. I'm assuming back in the day, we enforced airport parking.
Jeez.
I meant to also tell you on those overparked vehicles, if it gets booted and if it gets towed, PD will be notified before we tow it. They'll create a CFS so that when the person calls in and says their vehicle is stolen, the dispatcher can say, no, it's been towed.
That's smart.
No offense, I don't like.
Bye.
Again, here's our penalty for that section. And then we took out the notice of violation responsibility. And here's the impoundment and towing, immobilize the vehicles. So, the attorney's office did a pretty good rewrite of this. They felt that they needed to change some of the language. It's fairly similar now. Right now, if we put a notice on there, within 24 hours, you can be booted. They changed that to 48 is about the only thing, the big change that they made in here. But they rewrote all this so that, yeah. And then again, taking out a lot of language because we already had language in there. And then nothing in here shall prohibit the city from providing alternate methods of notice that a vehicle is subject to immobilization or that the vehicle has been mobilized. Kind of a catch-all for us. And that's it. Again, a lot of the stuff really didn't need to be in there. A lot of the stuff is dated. So that's why it's been a number of years. Thomas and I made the first run, but we never could get it onto the commission. And then with the last few years of the changeover with city managers, it's come and gone. But I feel pretty good now that with the parking committee and the VID and our partners, the chamber and TVID, here, that I think this will be a good change. And then we can start working on some of those instead of policies, operations.
So how many pages will it be, do you think? It's 29 then, half of it?
Probably.
Yeah,
Yeah.
good work.
Yeah. But when do you present this to the commission?
So we needed to wait to have this meeting.
Yeah.
So that we can say this committee saw the changes, whether they're supportive or wanted different changes. And then obviously if you see anything else that you want changed or changed back, we would go back and bring it back before then. But we wanted to make sure that both the BID and the chamber were all here so that they could see them, see if they had any issues with the changes being made, and then ultimately getting either the thumbs up or thumbs down from the parking committee.
I didn't see anything in there, but I would like to sit down with a copy. Is this available somehow, or can we
I
make
think I
it available?
attached it to
Okay,
the meeting. I can double check that.
okay.
So,
And
and then once we get,
Oh, I think you're saying you sent it out.
yeah,
Okay, sorry. I did see that, yes.
Wait, I'm not sure.
it should have been attached.
Yeah, I think it was attached, yeah.
But once we get the, thumbs up from the parking committee, then we'll put it on a agenda meeting again. Another meeting that we request our partners and people and representatives from the committee to come there so that they can hear from you all that, hey, we've gone through these. Again, this was noticed again and on our parking committee agenda. And that's why we wanted to kind of have the multiple times so that the public could have a chance to come in and comment. And
Okay, so maybe next meeting we'll vote on supporting the parking code.
we just needed time to go through it. That's what we
Yeah.
tried to do with the last.
Okay. So next meeting, we'll vote on whether to support it.
Is there a list of, I think a lot of times when we generalize things in the code, it requires further explanation from definitions of like terms and things like fire zone. Is there a pretty comprehensive list, or has that been gone through to like help support the generalization with it?
So our attorney's office has been through it.
Okay.
And there hasn't been any comment to add definition to it.
So
Okay.
yeah,
See
the
what I'm
main,
saying though?
the main definitions that are in there for things that are, I think probably need to be defined are in there, like a parking enforcement zone.
Right.
That gets defined in the code of what is a parking enforcement zone.
Okay.
So those kinds of definitions are within this code.
Okay.
So fire, what is a fire zone might be in a different section of code where the actual definition is, but it may not have been specifically defined within the parking code again.
Okay.
And we would probably reference the IFC.
Okay.
For that definition.
Sure.
As we adopt the IFC, as the new additions come out.
Okay.
Those definitions.
Just thinking as someone who I look through code all day, every day, I am a lot of times so much is gray and generalized that you do rely on those definitions a lot. So I could see that. But that might be something I just comb through and check for myself to help understand that.
Any comments?
For sure are a few definitions in there for some of the parking relevant terminology.
Right. Sure.
So could you send it again?
Sure.
Somehow, I don't know what's wrong. Sometimes I get the whole thing.
Okay. Any other questions on the code revisions? Okay. All right. Annual report recommendations. I think we're getting close to the point where we're gonna have to make an annual report to the city commission. And we do have the parking committee priorities. Has everybody had a chance to look at those?
Mhm.
And is everybody okay with those?
Yeah.
Okay,
It's everything we discussed. I think.
okay, all right. So I think, I have a report that, Julia had done last year. And I think I will go in and summarize this, and then at some point there'll be a report to the commission, right?
Mm-hmm. So at our budget meeting, I would, if you're comfortable and the committee's comfortable, I would take the opportunity just to give them a summary, not necessarily, a line by line thing, but you'd say, hey, as we brought on a new member and, we're moving forward, we outline this and, in the coming months, you'll see our recommendation along with our new priorities for your consideration, something like that.
I mean, if you guys come to an
Okay.
agreement now, since this is a regular item, you guys could vote, say, yes, these are our new priorities. You could just send that to Danae after this meeting and say, these are our recommendations,
Okay,
and then you could represent those at the meeting on those day if you wanted to.
as soon as the meeting on Wednesday.
Yeah, if you
Okay.
voted on them now, you could send them to Danae tonight and say, we voted on these are our new priorities.
Okay, all right,
And she might say, well, we have a full agenda, we're gonna have to push it, or she could just say, just give the report along with, your recommendation during the budget section.
okay, all right. Well, let's take a vote on it.
I make a
Okay.
motion to accept these priorities and moving forward.
Okay,
I'll
Joan,
second.
Lindsay. Okay, we're gonna go person by person. Lindsay, say aye or nay.
Aye.
Aye, okay. Joan,
Aye.
Chris,
Yes.
okay. And I vote aye also. Motion passes. Any further discussion? God, sorry. All right, motion
Well-
passes.
I will say, you might want to just go back and quickly vote to table both A and B since they are regular items.
Yes. Oh, you're talking about,
Yeah,
Table.
the election and the code revisions, they're on the regular items.
oh, okay, yes, yes, okay. Okay, Joan makes a motion to table the items,
Yes,
A and B,
To
Yes.
next meeting.
I'll
to the
second.
next meeting. Lindsay makes a second. Any further discussion?
nope,
Okay, we're gonna take a vote. Lindsay,
Aye.
Joan,
aye.
Chris,
Yes.
okay? And Seth votes yes, also, I also. Motion passes. All right. Next, proposed upcoming meeting items.
So we'll have items A and B
Yep,
on the next meeting, and anything else the committee would like us to put on as a regular item. Or staff report.
Yeah.
okay. Is there anything anybody would like to talk about the next meeting? We also have our, residential district letters update.
That won't be until after your next meeting. That's May 18th.
May 18th, you're right. Okay.
If we're going for TIF funding for this, is that something that we need to?
That's something I would like to ask about this
Yeah.
meeting, and that is what's the status of the TIF?
So the good point on that we thought of the other day when we were talking budget stuff is that without them being willing to forego the match piece, we don't technically have a budget to offer a match to apply for anything yet. So that's kind of, so at the next meeting on one of our staff updates, what we'll do is bring, I guess, a recap of what happens on Wednesday. An update on the budget meeting on Wednesday. And then as long as the commission, they're not, obviously not approving our budget on Wednesday, but they should give us a pretty good idea of their approval or not at that meeting. So we'll come back at the next meeting, give a recap of what happened there as far as the budget goes. And as long as everything looks like it's going our way, we can probably have at least a couple ideas of what we're going to want to apply for come July, once we actually have the budget to provide a match for that kind.
Okay, is there gonna be a TIF meeting before?
I'm assuming, I would assume so.
I don't think they have the form.
I've had a recent conversation with Ellie on this, and she's hopeful they'll be able to start meeting in June or July. So that's the absolute earliest that they'll have preliminary.
Okay,
Yeah, I don't think they do either.
okay.
We're okay.
But just keeping in mind, writing that and putting together a plan is gonna take some time, so I don't wanna
Well,
miss those windows.
we have a pretty good plan
Okay.
that we can pull from the reports that we have.
Okay.
If we want to do something along those lines, or, if we want to do landscape beautification and ADA and sidewalk upgrades, those are easy we have plenty of language that we've used in recent grants that we can pull from.
Okay.
We did have a discussion previous, and our, correct me if I missed something, but our priorities were, access,
Mhm.
like ADA access, public access, wayfinding, and landscaping.
Okay.
All of which are pretty easy to identify and pretty poor repair. And but I think in order to make a difference, we got to go big. We're everything has just been neglected for so long that it's going to be really hard to catch up.
Yeah, and some of the stuff, we'll be able to do with staff, but some of those bigger projects are probably gonna have to be bid out, which are gonna cost, more money, so. We can
Yeah.
also do an analysis of what getting TIF funds, would be, or, possibly looking at an intercap loan or something like that, to see what those look like. Might benefit us a little bit longer time frame. I don't know, we'll have to just take a look.
Yeah.
Do we have match dollars included in the budget for this, whatever we?
Well, that's what we're hoping.
Sort of.
So we
So,
have a line item for this.
yeah, so in our capital budget,
Yeah,
it's kind of just a pooled number. So in pretty much every other operation that we have, our capital budget is very distinctly outlined. We're doing this project, we're buying this vehicle or piece of equipment. With parking, we kind of just left it as an open-ended pot to address deferred maintenance.
okay.
It's quite small though. I mean, your number,
Yeah, I mean, so this
We're
year was
hoping to
only,
look to that by-
this year was only $40,000.
$40,000 for,
Okay.
So in the
So
next
we can only
budget-
ask for 80 then.
No, in the
for the
next
TIF,
budget.
right?
Well, yes, for TIF, we
Right.
would only be able to ask for 80
Okay.
right now today.
Got it.
but
But
after Wednesday, hopefully,
I
you'll see
gotcha.
the motion starting for.
The increased fees give us about 300.
Okay. So that's a huge
Yeah.
difference.
But
So, go ahead.
go ahead.
Well, this is about the fees, so if you want to finish that.
Oh, yeah, so without the fees, I mean, when the problem is just on the structures, there's,
Yeah.
$7 million of deferred maintenance. And that's over 10 years, but the problem is most of it is in the first 3 and we're already on the 3rd year and haven't spent any. And that doesn't include the landscaping and the lots, which are in disrepair also.
Right.
So it's kind of you know, it's just kind of all coming in together and something has to be done, so.
So we did talk to a couple folks about sealing the garages. We haven't got an official quote, but it's relatively economical for what we were told as a rough estimate to have them come do a hot sea, which is hot water pressure washer, to get all the oil and everything cleaned out of the garages, and then come back with a sealant that actually penetrates into the concrete as much as you can penetrate, and then seals that deck, and then we'll, so it was a lot cheaper than we were anticipating, so some of those monies will probably pull out just so we can get at least the top decks sealed up. And before we do that, obviously, we'll do the same thing as we did at Jackson, where we'll go do all the joints and get those sealed up, and then come back and spray those sealants down. So start mitigating some of that stuff.
Yeah.
So my
Well-
question, oh, go ahead. Are you-
No, go ahead, you go
I
ahead.
want to ask this question.
Go ahead.
It's just that, so on Wednesday, just trying to get the process down here. Will they approve or disapprove or just discuss the rate increases or,
Wednesday, we'll present our budget.
and part of
which-
that will
which-
be these
which
rate
includes the
increases?
rate increases.
Right,
And at that point, they can say, yeah, it looks good, or we'd like you to reconsider. Our hope is that they'll say, yeah, it looks good. And then, because that's not only the commission, but that's a public meeting to come for people to come and talk.
Mhm.
And then in June is when they will officially adopt the preliminary budget. We have to have all these meetings prior to, so the
Right.
commission can say, hey, what about this? Or have you considered that?
If Wednesday goes well, then I will start preparing our actual fee schedule to be adopted, because that can be adopted at any time. It doesn't
Mhm.
have to go with the budget itself. Because they're
Okay.
just gonna be effective July 1 fees, so we can get them approved sooner than that, as long as we can get on the agenda.
So that's why we
But-
pushed the parking budget meeting up as soon as we could. So if they were okay with the fees, like Chris said, he can do the fee schedule. We can get on the commission agenda before June and then have the fees effective July 1.
Yeah,
Okay.
last time what happened was fees came up at the administrative meeting, right? And the commissioners
right.
asked the question like, who's here from the parking advisory committee?
I remember.
Yeah, and then there was all these questions. And so it just got pushed down the road and never happened. So we're hoping this time to be a little more.
That they won't push. it
We will
down the road
definitely be
because
at the
they-
meeting. We will definitely be at the meeting. I think there's a better understanding. I think we had to go through this process and we kind of had to watch the other cities
Mhm.
with much smaller deficits go through the same.
Well, strategically, presenting it at the budget meeting versus just asking for a fee increase. They're gonna get the perspective without the fee increase. Here's what our capital pot will be. With the fee increase, here's what we can do. We have this much of deferred maintenance is how we're gonna frame that discussion. So they get the big picture. They can see that, everything that's included in the budget and where, these increased fee dollars will go.
So you are gonna mention in the meeting that you're gonna apply for a TIF grant with some of these funds or
Yeah,
not?
so the discussion about the fact that, because even the finance director asked this when I sent my presentation to her, that, well, the capital project wasn't identified. Like, well, that's on purpose. It's a deferred maintenance pot. We're gonna make it go as far as we can, whether that be through TIF, a loan, just doing a bunch of smaller projects that get us progress. Whatever it is, we don't know exactly what the projects are because there's just so many that need to be done. And they're all a priority.
And what funding
So,
you get is gonna,
yeah.
really dictate.
Mhm.
Yeah, okay. And
There's
then,
some benevolent parking guru out there that wants to give us a couple $1 million and we'll make that go as far as we can.
Okay, and so I'm gonna submit these priorities.
Yeah.
Prior to the meeting.
Mhm.
Tomorrow, and then, I'll submit them tomorrow, and then on the 13th, they'll have them.
Yeah, and then Danae will let you know, basically she'll say, hey, go ahead, bring them up.
Okay.
So,
All right.
Yeah, I think when you send them to
Good.
Danae, just let her know that you would like to, you know, at least outline them either on Wednesday
Okay.
for the budget meeting. And if, you know, time allows, we'd like to be able to at least outline these priorities. for
Okay.
them.
And that won't be an action item, right? It's just really informational for the commission.
it'll be informational, but they're the advisory committee and they can basically say, great, we think they look good. And then it gives them an opportunity to give feedback to the committee to say, have you considered this or
Yeah.
maybe, you know,
Okay.
so.
Yeah.
Is there any con with presenting these in association with the budget meeting just for pulling focus or any?
I don't think so. I mean, the biggest thing is getting in front of them.
Okay.
And between now and June, it's gonna be difficult to get in front of them with all the budget meetings. So I think any opportunity we can get in front of them, as long as it's okay with presenting it that way, then I think we take that opportunity and then move forward.
Fair enough.
Okay. All right. I'll do that tomorrow. Yeah, okay. All right. Is there anything else from the public? Anything else from committee members? Chris?
No,
Okay. Okay, I get a motion to adjourn.
Little motion to adjourn.
Good, I get second.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
I.
Okay, thank you. All right.